Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving. The digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keene on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast with me, Jenny from the blockchain, and my co-host, Michael Keene. For today's interview, we have Richard.eth joining us. He's the co-founder of Manifold XYZ and an OG in the NFT space. We are so honored to have him on the show. Honestly, I've been trying to get him on for a while now, so this is kind of like a dream come true guest for me. So yeah, I'm pumped to have you on. Richard, welcome to the pod.
Great to be here.
Hey. Yeah, we met at VCon actually this year, and I was like, this is my chance to you can't reject me in person. I'm going to shoot my shot in person. And I asked you to come on the pod, and you said yes. So let's go.
VCon's great. So glad to have met there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. VCon was such a blast. Yeah, that was, and I know you went to both of them, right?
Yeah, I was there last year. Yeah, so I went there first year. And just had a really great time. So when I got asked to come back again this year, I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I really the thing I like about VCon the most is that the community there is just so wholesome and so into it. Right. Last year it was more focused on NFTs, but this year it was more focused on, just like personal development, motivation. There was a big Web3 component, but that wasn't, the main reason for a conference itself.
Yeah, it's always fun, just meeting other people in the industry and networking, and everyone's so friendly and nice. Kind of reminds me of festivals a bit, where it's everyone's just so happy to be there, and it's you can literally just talk to anybody, and they're just going to be excited to talk to you because they're also just excited and happy.
Jenny just got back from Bonnaroo.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I did. I know, I got back from Bonnaroo. I did some things. I'm feeling good. But yeah, I probably shouldn't talk about my experience on the pod, but it was a lot of fun. I actually saw that you went to Burning Man. I was scrolling through your Twitter. That's my dream festival to go to. That's the ultimate. Everyone says, oh, Burning Man, that's a huge game changer. That's totally different from every other festival.
Yeah, I've been to Burning Man 5 times. And in 2018, I actually built the big giant sculpture. It's maybe a 20-foot floating dragonfly. Had LEDs on it, lit up at Burning Man and everything. And then at the end of the week, we burned it as you do at Burning Man.
Oh, shoot. Oh, wait, you burn everything at the end? I didn't know you burnt everything.
No. So if you design a sculpture there that's meant for burning, you actually have to design it to be burned. And so there's a whole bunch of regulations for rules around safety and, materials you have to use.
Right.
So when we created the sculpture, the intention for the burn was to burn it.
Interesting. That's sick.
So, it took many, many months to create the sculpture. It was, and to transport there, build it in the desert, which is no easy feat by itself. It was then sculptured on display for about 5 days, and then it was burned. Yeah.
Damn.
So it was a very cathartic moment because, at first I was like, yeah, it's gonna be awesome, but by the end of it, I was just like, oh, so glad to get rid of this thing. It's the memory now.
Dang, that's crazy. 5 times. So are you going again this year?
I'm not going this year, but I am planning to go next year.
Nice.
But definitely something you should check out.
Yeah,
I think everyone should go at least once if they're curious.
That's on my bucket list.
I went my first year. Yeah, I went there my first year. Okay, I think everyone should go at least once.
Michael, should we go together?
And record a pod from there? I think we should.
Record some
I think we should all go. That's on my
Yeah.
bucket list for sure. I'd love to go to Burning Man.
Right? That would be sick.
Interview Richard from Burning Man 2024.
Burning Man.
Yeah. Let's
Live
go.
from Burning Man.
Let's
So
go.
it's funny. There's no internet there. Or traditionally, there's been no internet there, so it's always been a good chance to unplug. But now that Starlink is available, there's always people that's internet connections there. So when I was there, one of my friends had it. Said, "You want to connect the internet?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to touch. I don't want to touch anything."
Right? Yeah, you don't want it. At Bonnaroo, my sister and I, we just left our phones in our car the entire time. We did not. We would just walk around and ask people for the time. Oh, what's the next set? What's the time? It was just so freeing to not have any kind of connection or anything. Like some people, they would take photos for us and send it to us. And it's like, okay, that's kind of nice because, that's the one thing that kind of sucks. It's like, oh, you can't take photos, but it is so freeing just not having your phone.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to jump into the NFT portion of this. I want to know how you got started in the NFT space, because I know you are a huge OG. I mean, you're one of the first people I followed on Twitter for sure.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of knows you in the space. Like if you're into NFTs, Richard. And yeah, I'm very curious how you got into Web3, how you got started.
It's actually funny because everyone thinks I'm an OG, but I don't really consider myself an OG NFT person. So, that's what every OG says. Well, okay, so, when did I start? So I bought my first NFT in January of 2021. So a little over 2 years now. NFTs have been around since 2017. So, not really that OG, but, I hit that. It's right before the huge wave in 2021. So, how did I start? Well, I've been in NFTs for, the last few years. I have been in crypto for a long time. So, I made crypto since 2012. So I'm OG crypto, but, I'd say not so much the Web3. And yeah, so my NFT story goes like this. So I was sitting around one day and, it's kind of like near the end of COVID or after all the lockdowns and so forth. And then my co-founder, Eric, he sends me an NFT he just bought this gateway. It's around Christmas of 2020. And I'm like, well, what'd you buy? And he's like, I bought the crypto art. And I was like, you spent how much on this thing? And it was like Slime Sunday piece is like $1,500. I was like, okay, like, sure. Like, you do you. But I was like, that's cool. So a week later, he sends me another one. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then after that, he sends me another one. And he's like, hey, these are selling today. I need to buy them. And it was on NFT Gateway. And there were 16 one-on-ones from Slime Sunday. And I was like, sure, I'll help you. So then I was like, how do you buy one of these things? He's like, oh, do you have ETH, right? I'm like, yeah, I got ETH. He's like, okay, go on the website at 4 p.m. and click the button. It's the first person to click the button in the world gets it. And I was just like, that's ridiculous. He was saying the whole world is going to compete to be the first person to like send this, click the button. And if you're the first person, then you get it. And I was like, how much are these things? So these ones were $4,000 each. And I was just like, okay, that's pretty pricey. But sure, I'll help you. So we hop on a Zoom call ahead of time. We're like, looking at these things and I'm on Nifty Gateway. And I'm like, okay, so, being a developer, I was like, oh, I can I expected the HTML was like, and I was like, look, you can enable the button. So I enabled the button and it sent me to the next page, which is the actual checkout page. I enabled the button again and it sent the web request to submit the request to the Nifty Gateway server. So then I was like, hey, why are we clicking the buttons like clouds? We can just program it to hit the button on time. And so I wrote a quick script to put that request in and just submit it. And then put it in, so we have a computer terminal. And so I had 16 of these processes going just to try to buy each one of them. So 4 p.m. I hit the button anyways, and it instantly sold out, in an instant. So I was like, wow, that was fast, right? All our vendors said sold out. And I was like, oh, ready to go. So then about 5 minutes later, I got an email saying, you purchased Machine 202 from Slime Sunday. I was like, cool. I'm like, so what did I buy? And Eric was like, well, you bought your first NFT. So I was like, what do we do with this thing? He's like, well, we have 3 options. There's only 3 things you can do with these right now. You can hold it, you can sell it, or you can transfer. So he's like, selling is probably the most interesting thing to do. So I was like, sure. I was like, how much do we sell it for? They're like, there's a second of bank. He looks me down in the eyes. He's like, $15,000. I was like, we said buy it for $15,000. And he's like, bro, you'd be mad. We spent 20 minutes buying this thing. If you made $11,000, would you be upset? I'm like, no. But no one's going to buy it for $15,000. So we listed it. Then we caught up because we haven't talked for a while because of COVID. And then after we hung up, I had an email saying, sold for $15,000. And I was just like, who's buying this? And so, I had a bunch of more emotions at that time. I was like, okay, just kind of happy that we had made $11,000. I also was kind of sad that I lost this thing that I had that I thought was really cool. At that point now, it just clicked for me, what NFTs could be. So being in crypto, it was all about building technology around moving money back and forth, moving funds from A to B in the crypto matters and so forth. But this time there was actual emotional connection to the thing I had purchased. And I thought that was really interesting because, I had this idea of loss aversion. I had this thing, they didn't have it anymore. And other people were kind of participating in this kind of market. And that was really, really interesting to me because I was like, no, it's been a while since I felt something like that, especially in crypto. And I was like, this is going to be crypto's big consumer application that anybody can understand. Right? To me, it makes the intangible, which are digital assets, tangible. and gives them the properties of real world, items. And that was the sort of the start of how I started, getting to NFTs. So from there, obviously, we were like, how do we do it again? So started building more technology, software, improved my botting skills. So I was pretty infamous on the NFT Gateway for a while. But then as we started collecting artworks from artists and talking to them, most of our artists that we talked to didn't understand what the technology behind what they were selling. They thought of it as just a new sales channel for selling art. But coming from a blockchain and programming background, we're like, there's so much more to do here. And we started working with artists and helping them create this technology to create smart contracts and NFTs, which eventually led to the creation of Manifold. So that's my story, how I started.
Nice. So then, so NFT Gateway, that was your first NFT. You sold it. And then, then when did you just did you just immediately start collecting a bunch of NFTs from there? How did you get your famous CryptoPunk that you're known for now, like the 3D glasses with the cigarette, which you're wearing the 3D glasses right now? Like, when did you buy that? And when did you start collecting NFTs and really just going all in on that?
So started collecting pretty much immediately. So every single NFT Gateway drop, I was there because there was a ridiculous time in NFT Gateway where if you bought anything in NFT Gateway, the price automatically went up. And so, it was just like, how do you just buy more things for the sake of buying more things? Because the market was so crazy back then. So did that for a while, tried flipping, and I was like, this is interesting, but it really just wasn't interesting because it was more the flipping part of it as much as the psychology part of like, why were people buying these things? And then, just started becoming a collector and started building a network up among artists. I think the big thing was we started work. So we collected one of Mad Dog Jones' works. So it was a 1-on-1 from the second NFT Gateway drop. From there, we got to talking to Mad Dog, and Mad Dog was just like really cool. We started talking about the technology. He's like, let's do a project for it. And so we worked with him on his second or his third NFT Gateway drop, which we called Project Burn, but we created a burn mechanic for it. And so back then, there was no like cost of burn, but we designed this whole burn program or burn campaign for Mad Dog Jones conditions. And, we modeled everything. I had all the NFT Gateway data, and it was like, okay, here's what's going to happen if we do, this burn with these parameters and these pieces. And we expected the price of these pieces would go, maybe like 5 or 6x. And so they started off at $1,000. And by the end of the first week, these open editions that were part of the campaign were selling for $150,000, which completely blew all of our models away because we're like, wow, like, what's going on here? So from there, Mad Dog was like, oh, that was really cool. We all did together as part of this campaign. And how do we make this like really awesome NFT next? Like, how do we just like create something that's like truly an NFT? And so we created the Mad Dog Jones replicator, which was an NFT that was on its own sovereign smart contract. And the NFT can only exist, or this artwork as a concept can only exist as an NFT. So it's like almost like a prototypical NFT artwork, right? So like most people think about NFTs as being an image or a JPEG, and then you put it in the blockchain. But this piece would actually link to the smart contract itself. And so that was the start of Manifold. And during this time, as I was getting more involved with, NFTs in general, CryptoPunks were always on the side. It's almost like people who were CryptoPunks had a certain status to them because they were like OGs, like true OGs in my mind. I was looking at these things, I was like, I want one of these things. And so I started researching them for a while, started asking people, like, what is the value of CryptoPunk? And they were pretty much, the idea behind it when I bought it was if you had a CryptoPunk, you were either someone who was like a true OG or you just had really high conviction in this space because, they're just pretty expensive. And so, I spent 2 weeks researching, looking at CryptoPunks, trying to understand what's going on here. And I decided to buy one. I chose Black CryptoPunk because it kind of looks at me. I kind of have frumpy hair and it's not free glasses, really cool. When it comes to the cigarette, it's kind of funny because I just thought, these are CryptoPunks, they're supposed to be edgy. And so I bought the one with a cigarette. And, a funny story about that is I actually bought that the day before Manifold started. So it's kind of like me saying I'm committing myself to NFT space by, buying a CryptoPunk and then, starting Manifold and trying to build something in the space itself. After that, I switched it to my identity, and it has been that ever since. And I started buying more 3D glasses and NFTs, started wearing 3D glasses, to like conferences and in my meetings and so forth. And it just became part of my identity.
That's awesome. I'm going to say one more thing then and pass it over to Michael. One of the most controversial things that you've ever done, I would say, is you're like, oh, shoot, what are you about to say?
I mean, which one?
No, but I think this was truly like this topped the cake. Like everyone was like, you're crazy for this. Is basically you made a statement saying that you were not going to sell your CryptoPunk. Like it was like your forever punk. back in October 2021. And POAP, Proof of Attendance Protocol, kind of tested that and placed a 2,500 ETH bid on your CryptoPunk, and you turned it down. And everyone was like, what the heck, Richard? Why would you turn that down? Like what? And you know, obviously they're trying to call your bluff, right? And you were like, well, I said what I said. Like, yeah, I'm curious to hear like your thoughts around that. And, you know, at the time when all that was going down, like what was going on inside your head?
Yeah, it's actually really funny. So when I found out about it, I was actually doing an interview. Like I was in the interview again for Manifold, and all of a sudden I get all these messages, just everyone trying to reach me. Like my phone is blowing up, like my notifications are going crazy. And I was like, okay, someone's like really trying to get a hold of me right now. So I'm doing this interview, trying to do a technical interview. And I was just like, well, it's like, I just check this, right? And then I look at it, I'm like, oh, what is going on here? Like, at first I was like, is this like a setup? Is this a scam? And, you know, I just really couldn't deal with that time because I had my attention on this interview. And so I was like, okay, I thought nothing of it at first. But then, you know, after the interview completed, I like went to go look and like, okay, this is legit. There's a 2,500 bid on my CryptoPunk. I'm like, who is sending me this? And I was like, POAP. I'm like, who is POAP? Like, I knew of POAP, but like, I wasn't sure if it was actually linked to POAP itself. And, you know, I've never had any interaction with POAP other than, you know, where I was on a Zoom call or an ENS, with a ENS mid-February as a collaboration. And so at first I was like, this can't be real, right? And so I started talking to my co-founders, like, is this like a setup? Is this like, you know, I going to accept this thing? Is it going to like, you know, mid-bot, like reject it? And so I just wasn't sure, right? So I started talking to people and they're like, I'm like, first of all, who is behind POAP? And they was sure to Patricio, so I asked people and they're like, no, this is Patricio. He's crazy. This is a real offer. And in my head, I'm like, why did he offer me 2,500? Like, this makes no sense to me. But yeah, when I thought about it, the only reason why he offered me the offer was because the conversation I was in the day before, I was saying, you know, what's all like because, you know, it just means that much to me. And, you know, when I think about when I said that, you know, I actually meant it. Like I'd been building up this brand identity or like, you know, myself as part of this blog. And that just meant a lot. You know, I mean, for me, I'm a person of like high integrity. You know, when I say I do something, I do it. Right. I think that's really rare in crypto space. So for me, it's just like, you know, being true to myself. That's like part of it. And then, yeah, you know, I sat down and as I was going through the decision, I was like, well, you know, I think the default for me was to reject it. So I was trying to think about why would I accept this? You know, what were the reasons that would make me want to accept this? And I couldn't think of any good reason that was true to myself of why I would accept this. So, you know, it might be different for a lot of people. A lot of people would have been like, yeah, of course, there's no way I'm going to accept, you know, like turn down 2,500 ETH. But for me, it was the other way around. And I was trying to convince myself the opposite of why I should accept versus why not. That was kind of the opposite. And then, you know, afterwards, I rejected it very, very famously. And then I actually reached out to my Patricio afterwards and, you know, we did good friends ever since. And it's actually funny because I talked to him like, why did you give me the offer? And he's just like, I just wanted the punk.
He just wanted the punk.
Yeah,
okay.
He just wanted the punk.
Trying to take over your brand. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's a wild story. And that was, people should remember, that was 10 million US at the time.
Yeah, because like
it's more than it is now. Yeah,
I didn't even think about the US value.
Yeah. That was 10 million US at the time. So if it was 10 billion, you probably would have taken it, I assume.
Oh, there's only one way to find out.
I don't know. Yeah, someone sent another offer.
There's only one way to find out. I love that. So that's like a $250,000 ETH. You probably have to.
Does anyone even have that much ETH?
I don't know. You probably have to take it at that point. But that's awesome. That's really cool. Richard, it's a pleasure to have you on. You've definitely been one of our bucket list guests for a long time.
I know we've talked about him so many times.
Yeah, we've talked about you. We've talked about Manifold. I mean, the impact that Manifold had for artists can't be understated. Jenny and I were here from the beginning, and see, you know, it was hard for people to put out projects. You had to hire devs, and you had to do this and that. And now they have all these amazing tools at their fingertips, their own contracts. I mean, we remember the OpenSea shared contracts and all people that got caught up in that. And what you guys have done, what you and your team have done, I mean, it was revolutionary for artists. And I know you're still adding things and still building. And I just kudos, man. Like, I think it's one of the most important tools that's been built. I've said, like, I think it's as important for digital artists as like like regular artists getting like an art supply store in their town. You know, like it's that like revolutionary for people. It makes it so easy, and you give it to the artists for free. So it's like, it's incredible. Definitely love that.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, I think one of the, you know, I think the interesting thing is that, you know, we came from the gaming background, like gaming, right? And we saw just how much kind of walled gardens and platforms were taking from creators in general. And so, you know, coming up with Manifold, we're like, how should things be done in crypto Web3? And, you know, talking to artists, you know, especially digital artists have always just been so disenfranchised because there wasn't a means to bring them monetize their work. A lot of these artists that we were talking to were always working, you know, client work jobs, working pretty much paycheck to paycheck, not being respected or paid properly for the work. You know, they were overworked in many cases. And so NFTs just offered this, you know, new way for them to, you know, navigate their creative work and express their creativity and be able to make a living off of it. And so when we started Manifold, we're like, you know, these are the people we want to help. Right? There is something here that's very special for this group of artists. So we created something that, you know, me being an artist myself, kind of, right? I understand how hard it is just to be creative and like create something. And so, yeah, we just like had that mindset from the very start. And we've always been, you know, we've always tried to operate the company in, you know, the highest regards for doing the right things for pretty much everyone in the community itself.
It definitely seems like that. What are some of the coolest use cases you've seen come through Manifold? Like, what are the coolest things you've seen people use it for? So far?
I think one of my favorite campaigns has been PR Guitar Man, so Chris Medcat. So you know, he did this like really fun campaign. You know, pretty much breathing life into Nadcat as Navalu. And so, you know, he sold, I think, like 21,000 red Nadcats or Nadcats Friday Blue, and he sold them for like, I think like $7 a piece.
Yep. And
from there, he's just been remixing them into like different iterations of these things. You know, I thought that was just like a really, really fun campaign because I think that kind of demonstrates what the future of NFTs could be. Because in this case here, the NFTs, people were buying them for speculation. They were buying them because for the enjoyment of the NFTs themselves, right? And it became sort of mini game that was created on the blockchain to try to collect, you know, more and more Nadcats. And, you know, it kind of brings back the idea of, you know, NFTs are about consumption, they're about enjoyment, and they're about collecting. I think that a lot of what we've seen in the last year or so has been a lot of speculation, which, you know, was fun for everyone participating until it's not, but it's not sustainable in the long run. And so, you know, what I see the vision for the NFT space being, or NFTs in general, is that NFTs are just going to be, you know, prevalent all across the internet. They're going to be things that you interact with. They can be things that you can engage with, collect, but, you know, the price isn't going to be the biggest factor of that. And, you know, if I think about what we're doing right now at Manifold, we're trying to build that future. So we just launched Optimism a few weeks ago. And so now we can pretty much mint NFTs for pennies instead of, you know, dollars or even hundreds of dollars, depending on the gas prices. And so, you know, our whole goal right now is to build tooling to make creation and collecting of NFTs just way more affordable and accessible across the board.
That's awesome. Talk about Optimism a little bit, if you don't mind. I don't know enough about it, but I've been hearing a lot. And I think that the founder was interviewed. I missed it on Twitter Spaces a couple of days ago. So why did you guys choose it, and how's it kind of integrating in the system?
So, you know, I think that when we think about Ethereum itself, one of the issues has always been scaling Ethereum. So there's two limiting factors there. Is like how much volume can you, or like how much transaction volume can you put through the network itself, and, you know, the price of Ethereum itself. And so, you know, let's just say Ethereum is wildly successful. Also, the price of Ethereum is now, I don't know, like 100K per.
Let's go.
But just, you know, it's just an example, right? You know, there's gas fee though, right? Time is that order.
Right now,
the price is now going to be, I don't know, like 100x what it is right now. So if you're paying, you know, $5 to mint an NFT, it's now going to be $500 to mint an NFT, right? Which is just not reasonable to any single person in the world, right? You know, it worked before because people were sending $100 to mint NFTs because they value the NFTs as higher than that.
Right, they knew how much they were going to be worth. Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, now that the speculative nature behavior has kind of disappeared, you know, people aren't willing to spend, you know, like spend $100 on gas fees to mint a hot hard NFT. right? That's a bit of exaggeration, but I just started the whole Pepe run. The average cost in the NFT was about $20, $30, right? So yeah, so this is where L2 solutions come in. And so I think there's a big distinction between L2s and sidechains. So most people know about Polygon. Polygon isn't a true L2. Polygon is a separate network completely.
Oh, wow.
Right. So a true L2 actually feeds back into the L1 itself. So in this case, Ethereum. So Optimism is an L2 built on top of Ethereum. What that means is that when you do transactions in Optimism, all those transactions get rolled up back into the main Ethereum. So that means that everything on Optimism is verifiable on the mainnet, which is the L1. You can have all this transaction activity on L2, right? And it's all verifiable on the blockchain itself. Optimism is interesting in particular because the big thing about Optimism is that they try to align their values as closely as possible to the Ethereum network. So that means that, when they think about, how they roll out features, how they roll out their scaling solutions, their community, it's all focused on alignment with Ethereum itself. And so the code base for Optimism is actually only, think like 15 lines of code different than Ethereum itself. And so very high alignment with that, right? There's other networks where, they have their own sort of security models or scaling models built into it. So Optimism has like that alignment. Another thing that most people don't realize is that when you purchase something on Optimism, you're using the exact same Ethereum as the Ethereum L1. So you got to bridge it over the network, but there is no difference between, Optimism ETH and, L1 Ethereum ETH. It's the same ETH that can just transfer like between the networks itself. Whereas, if you think about like Polygon, for example, it's a direct flowing, right? Like Matic is a base flowing, and you have to bridge it over, and it has its own price, its own kind of own exchange rates and so forth, right? But when you buy something on Optimism or any L2, any true L2 with ETH, it's the exact same ETH that came from L1. So not like creating new tokens or that, it's just exact same.
That's really interesting. So is basically, if you buy one of the Optimism NFTs, is it technically an ETH NFT or is it an Optimism NFT?
Yeah, so it's an Optimism NFT itself, but all the coding technology is the same, right? So you have to select it on Optimism.
Okay.
But if I were to buy an NFT off you on Optimism, you get ETH from that. That ETH is the exact same ETH that can then be ported to the L1. The exact same price, exact same everything. Like Optimism isn't creating new ETH. They're moving over from L1 to itself.
Okay. But it's I got you. Really cool.
I think the difference is that most people think about Optimism token, right? Optimism token is just a token for Optimism Foundation, but it's not the currency used to transact on ETH or on Optimism itself.
That's crazy. It's a lot to think about and learn. I want to check that out and learn because I've definitely been hearing a lot more about it. And whenever you guys introduce something, it definitely sends off antennas. Like it's a place to look for sure. Jenny, I have questions for days. I have a couple more. If you need to cut me off,
go for it.
Go on in.
I can just cut you off.
You can cut me off anytime you want. But I'm interested to hear what you think of Bitcoin ordinals and if there's any future, connection with Manifold. What you think about them in general?
Yeah, that's interesting because I would consider myself an NFT OG. I probably am a Bitcoin OG. But even that's funny because I started in 2012 and Bitcoin had already been around for like 5 years when I started. But yeah, so I think ordinals community is interesting. I think the funny thing about it is that the Bitcoin community is a very stubborn community. And so, they had this idea of what Bitcoin was, right? They didn't want to upgrade the network because, one Bitcoin is always going to be one Bitcoin. But, ordinals comes along, the classic high ordinals comes along, and all of a sudden, one Bitcoin is not one Bitcoin anymore. Like, a Satoshi with inscribed now has insured value than just sort of Satoshi. And I think that it kind of shook the community up. And now there's this huge, I guess, like following of ordinals. It's actually funny because like one of the biggest communities right now are ordinals creators, right? And what they're doing is that they're creating ETH NFTs, but then inscribing them on Bitcoin itself. And so there's definitely a huge movement right now that is still being, I guess, like it's still growing. And so, I think ordinals is interesting. I think the hard part is that the technology is just not there yet, per se. It's like, hey, we got this cool thing. We're going to take all of these like solutions together and like not take them all together to get like the final solution, which is, what ordinals is, rather than being, hey, this is native to the protocol itself. We're going to support everything. which is going to be a flourishing ecosystem. And so, when I think about the technology itself, I think that there could be sort of a changing of how people think about like Bitcoin in general. But, at this point, we're following the community, we're building some tools for it on Manifold itself, but it's not going to be like the primary focus. We're not going to like take everything and be like, hey, we're just going the rails itself. But
nice.
Our whole focus has always been in, Ethereum and Web3.
So you guys are building some tools for Bitcoin.
Well, it's just very simple tools. It's just to support some of the communities that are using Manifold to mint their Ethereum NFTs that are being used to extract.
Okay. Love it. Another thing that you guys do on Manifold that is really intriguing to me, and it's a tiny bit controversial. I don't know if you've heard the controversy, but I talked to some artists and I didn't realize until I talked to them.
Yeah.
I love the idea that you could say like, hey, here's my 101, but to get it, you need to burn, and you can pick any contract. You can say you need to burn Bored Ape Yacht Club or what. And I talked to some art, and I think that is so cool. Like I would love to see like any of these, like, if like Cause or anybody like that, and to see who's the first one that decides to burn a punk or burn a Bored Ape Yacht Club to get that 101. Like I think that is so interesting. But the artist side, they might say like they're worried that somebody might burn their art, that they didn't want it to happen, which I get it. I don't know if you've heard that at all. I get it, but I also like burning is a weird word for what happens when we send them to the burn wild, right? Isn't like, because they're still there. You're not like
well, okay, no. So,
what do you got? What do you got for me?
So there's actually two types of burns, right? So I think what you're talking about is burning the burn wallet, which is sending an NFT to OX0000DEAD. But there's a second kind of burn, which is, we kind of dub it, it's called a true burn. And so if the contract supports it, if you call the burn function on the contract, it actually deletes the record of the token itself. So it's not owned by dev. It's owned by 00000 because it doesn't exist anymore, right? But, I actually really like the burn feature. I like when people try to burn other people's works because, I think one of the core aspects of NFTs and the idea of ownership is that when I own an NFT, I should be the one who owns it. So, that it's like the sovereignty of the asset itself, right? So when I purchase it, I should be able to do it. It's like when I purchase a cup or something, I could throw it away because I don't want it anymore. So, what gives me the right? Why would someone prevent me the right to be able to do that for something I should truly wholeheartedly own? And the second thing is I just like chaos. I think that chaos breeds interesting results and chaos breeds creativity. And by offering tools that are just kind of unopinionated, we've seen many artists create these really interesting campaigns that are just like, it just makes you think about, what is the technology? What does it mean? What does it mean for something to be art? Is now performance piece or, even what is the value of things?
I love that. I didn't realize about that true burn, but you said that it has to be enabled in the smart contract from the beginning. So like probably a lot of those major collections don't have it.
Yeah, well, it depends on where you got a contract from, right? So Manifold supports the true burn, but some contracts just might not do it.
Right, no doubt.
So when you actually burn something in Manifold, we actually detect whether you do have true burn function or not. And if you have the actual burn function, then we'll burn it for real. Otherwise, we'll send it to the dead address.
Oh, cool. Very nice. And another question, how about AI? Where are you at with AI? Are you using it in your professional life? Are you playing with the art? Are you scared of it?
Yeah. No, AI is definitely a thing that is part of my daily life. I use it for writing, I use it for creation, I use it for coding, especially for coding.
Sure.
Yeah. It's, to me, it's a tool, right? It's like when the internet came along, are you going to use the internet or not? And if you did use the internet, you get left behind. So same sort of thing with AI. When it comes to the NFT space, I think it's really interesting because, crypto and AI kind of go hand in hand. Because on one end, you have, AI, which makes content creation like cheap, like just like, anybody can create stuff now. But the problem now becomes like, what is authentic? What is real? And that's where crypto comes in because now can be actually sign, your work and say, hey, this is actually from me, or I endorse this. This is actually part of, something that I created. Where I think that many people are going to start using AI more. And, in fact, a lot of Mint and Manifold have now become our generative from AI because it makes it so accessible for anyone to use. And, in general, I think just more creation is always a good thing. More creation leads to more, creativity. It leads to more innovation. And so, it's just to me, it's just part of human progress. I'd rather live in a world where we're just moving very forward at a very rapid pace with lots of interesting things happening than just being kind of stagnant or being afraid of this technology.
Nice.
No doubt.
Okay, I got two last questions here.
Let's go.
On my end. First of all, what are some of your top tips for securing your NFTs? Because some of my favorite like cybersecurity threads are by you and I always forget the number. It's like 6529 or something.
But
yeah. So what would be some of your top tips for securing your NFTs?
Yeah. So I would say the very first thing, always use a hardware wallet. I use Ledger. I know Ledger has been under some beat lately for not advertising some features that everyone thought were true. But I still say using Ledger or using a hardware wallet like Trezor is still the number one thing you can do at the very very base. Pretty much everyone who has been hacked that I know of has or hacked or had their wallet compromised was not using a hardware wallet. So you just click a link and all of a sudden your computer could be compromised. So that's the number one thing. Second thing is, around how you store your seed phrase. So, make sure you never store your seed phrase on a digital device. I can't tell you how many artists' seed phrase I've seen just through screen sharing. Yeah. As lucky as me because I'm like, hey, I saw your seed phrase, you gotta fix that, and I'll work with them to set up a wallet. But, a common thing that has happened is that someone will be screen sharing, they'll open their MetaMask is locked, they'll open a file called password.txt. And it is the MetaMask password and also their seed phrase, right? And so obviously, if you have a digital footprint of your seed phrase that is able to be copied or accessed in some way, it could be someone could play along and go like, hey, I have a seed phrase, and let it through a bunch of assets. And then 10 years from now, just wipe everything and you'll have no idea what just happened. So, the proper way to store your seed phrase is, first of all, write down a piece of paper, right? And, put it in a safe deposit box at the minimum, right? The way I have my seed phrase set up is there are metal plates, and these metal plates are distributed across a few banks in safe deposit boxes. And, so pretty much my worst case scenario for me is that 4 banks burn down and my hardware wallet breaks all at once. And I think that if that happens, there's probably
just one of the banks. It'd be a problem if it was just one of the banks. You don't need all 4 of them.
No, if one of the banks burns down, so my seed phrase is distributed. And so I don't need all 4 pieces. I don't need all 4 banks. I just need to go to 2 of the banks, 2 of the 4.
Got you.
But yeah, so like I said, we got bigger problems, or I think we'll have bigger problems if 4 banks burn down and my hardware wallets break. So that's how to store it. No digital footprints. Yeah. And then, never type your seed phrase, right? Your seed phrase should never be typed into a device itself. The only thing it should be going into is the actual hardware wallet. So,
awesome. Thank you for that. I remember you talking about that on a Spaces once about how you have them in these bank safety deposit boxes around the world or whatever. And I was like, what? I was mind blown.
I love that.
Yeah. So, the thing is, it's your seed phrase would actually be really hard to recover, right? So if I actually wanted to go recover, I actually have to plan a whole day to go recover my seed phrase. So if it's hard for me to recover, that means it's just as hard for somebody else. It should be hard for someone else to recover.
Yeah. And that's actually a really good reminder. A lot of people, when they first started, didn't know what they're doing, and they did type their seed phrase into a message and send it to themselves or a Word file. And they might have deleted that a long time ago and forgot about it. But there's still a slim possibility that is traceable, hackable. If you did do something like that in the past, maybe think about setting up a brand new wallet, sending your stuff there. It does cost money to do that. You do it in the middle of the night when gas is low or whatever. But if you want to be ultra safe, that's definitely something. We've seen a lot of hacks again recently. It's been coming back.
Yeah. Well, that's also how much assets you're storing on your on these devices too, right? Yeah.
Right. You have a $10 million. You have a $10 million punk. I mean, you got to keep that big.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Woo. Okay, my last question is actually kind of a little random, but I'm curious, what's with the Richard interns? Because you have basically kind of this, almost like this loyal fan base of people that have declared themselves Richard interns. They got the glasses, they got the freaking suits. I saw music videos they were making. I met them at an event. I think it was NFT NYC, not this last one, but the one before that. And they had Richard intern coffee or something. They were going hard. And I'm curious on your thoughts on the Richard interns.
Oh, and that's on the, okay. So I guess like one day, I was just like a busy person in general. And then Richard Intern popped up on my Twitter feed. It was like, here's a coffee. I was like, oh, that's cool. And so I started interacting with this persona, right? Eventually, every single day, he started delivering, a coffee on Twitter. And then all of a sudden, Richard Intern showed up, and Richard COO showed up, and Richard 3D glasses and cigarette. There was a whole like group of these personas or anonymous profiles just like popping up just under the Richard brand, I would say. It's kind of funny, right? So I didn't know who they were for about a whole year, but they were still kind of just interacting on Twitter in some fashion. Yeah, so I actually met them. They actually doxed themselves to me, I guess, like last NFC I met them in person. And yeah, there was like these guys from, where was it? Iceland. I forgot the name of it, but somewhere in Eastern Europe. Yeah, it's just this guy who was looking at Twitter. He had said, "You're for a project." I just wanted to like follow someone, and he chose me, and then he just ran with it. And they were a bunch of creatives, so photographers, developers, and it's kind of a side project. And they started doing these projects. I think Richard did their coffee. They created a Lego helmet and made these videos, and they just had a lot of fun with it. And then they even sold some NFTs under this kind of brand. And yeah, so I actually met them in person. We had a great time meeting, and we've been friends ever since. They recently kind of toned down the Richard Intern project. So I guess it's during the last bear run time when things became less viable. But yeah, there's just a great group of people who were just trying to have fun.
That's awesome. I had never seen anything like that. So I was just like, this is super cool. But yeah, cool to hear, a little bit of the backstory on it. Michael, do you have any last minute questions before we go into our gas wars?
No, let's have the only thing, gas war, you ready?
It's our segment. It's our segment. Gas war.
The only thing I like to ask if our guests have any artists or projects they want to shout out that they think need some light. If you have any favorite artists that you think should be more popular or anything like that, feel free to give them some light.
Let's see. It's a good artist right now. Okay, so we recently launched something. So this is more on offensive right now. So we recently launched something. We're in collaboration with Coinbase. And so the idea is called the Coinbase Quest. And that is to collect one of these NFTs from these artists, then Coinbase will reward you with some OP token. And so, I think I want to just start with these artists here. So I met each of these artists. They're a bunch of artists from Thailand. They're very talented. So I'll give you their names here.
Yeah.
So first we got Timur. Timur's from the UK. Yeah. We have Blue.eth, BLOOH, also from Thailand. Workout, also from Thailand. And Annie Maccabi. I'll send you a link in chat here.
Yep. I think I know Annie. I'm trying to remember.
And Ryan Hoffer.
Cool.
Nice.
Oh, good. We got a link. Awesome. Now I want to check that out. We'll check those artists out. Appreciate that. I did have one other quick thing I need to mention. I'm sorry, Jen. Then we'll do gas wars. Richard's worried about what gas wars is now. He's like,
gas wars? What's that?
So
I spent so much money on gas. I don't need more gas wars.
He's like, no, please. So when we were talking earlier about the interesting use cases on Manifold, I just got to shout out my buddy Mark at .eth. He's the one that did Checkade. He said you were really, really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
You literally said like you helped him because it like wasn't working at first, and you guys especially helped him out. He did really well. He's still he's got that Frogger game now, Pepin, and you have to have that NFT to play. It's really good, but he's doing some really cool stuff, and that was pretty innovative on there. And he said you were particularly like one-on-one, he DM'd you and you were like right there helping him. So that's really cool. Good customer service there. Good customer service.
Cool. Yeah, I remember that. We thought it was really cool. It was like one of the very first big HTML elements that was actually interactive. So
that's exactly right. Well. Yeah, man. Yeah, he's crushing. He's doing really well. So good stuff. Let's get into gas wars. Jenny,
all right, gas wars. We need some type of welcome to Gas Wars, our segment where we ask 5 rapid fire questions each, and you answer them as fast as possible.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, that was basically the gist of it. So I will start with a very easy first question. What is your astrology sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Gemini. All right.
Favorite movie?
Let's call it. Yeah, I know it's. Why am I blanking on it? Gattaca.
What is it?
Gattaca.
Oh, Gattaca.
Yep.
Gattaca.
Wow. That's a classic, isn't it? I'm not even familiar. Andy's probably like, these people are horrible. Andy's a big movie buff.
Andy's like, oh, I love that movie. We're like,
yeah.
I watch it every year.
All right. Every year. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, every year.
Check that out.
What was the first job you ever had?
First job, I worked in a video game store.
Video game. Okay. Nice.
Or video game movie rental store. Yeah.
Oh, like Blockbuster?
Yeah, it was like Blockbuster, but not like it's just a, mom and pop shop sort of version of that. Just solid.
I remember the mom and pop shops, the mom and pop video stores. Jenny doesn't remember those.
I remember
gone by
Blockbuster, Hollywood Video or whatever.
Yeah, Hollywood.
Or like VHSs, you have to like rent them and rewind them.
Exactly.
Rewind them. I see. I do remember that.
Be kind, please rewind.
Yep.
What is the most underrated NFT project or collection? And it can't be the one on your shirt. At 1.62 ETH, by the way, right now.
What? 6.2 ETH? What?
1.62.
Wow, Michael's keeping track.
Man,
I'm keeping track. I'm looking to buy. I'm looking to buy a doodle. He has a doodles on his shirt right now. So I said, all right. So
yeah, I got a bunch of doodles.
That was a long way. I got a bunch of them. So what is
underrated
the most
project?
Underrated.
Nakamigos.
All right, Nakamigos. Oh, wow.
I am not the founder of Nakamigos, by the way.
Oh, that's the first thing that went through my head. I was like, oh, he's trying to psyop it. Yeah.
We don't talk about that around here.
Wow. You know who the founder is? You know who High Low Labs is? Do you know who they are? You don't have to say, obviously.
We don't talk about that around here.
He knows who they are.
He's like, I can neither confirm nor deny.
You don't confirm nor deny. Yeah, that's
wow.
That's all things Nakamigos.
That's a tidbit that people can run with, and we could try it. All right.
I mean, they've been running with it ever since. So
yeah, they have. All right.
What's your dream country to visit?
Well, sure. I've been to most. I've been around a lot. Visit? North Korea.
Okay. Why North Korea?
Beautiful.
I think North Korea is a very special place in the world. I don't think it's going to last very long in general, right? But it's this like preserved culture. Like it's got a very interesting preserved culture that's like untouched by the rest of the world just because of how it's kind of operated. I don't agree with the whole how North Korea operates, but I think it's just a very interesting place to like experience.
It would be interesting. Funny enough, my next question was favorite travel destination. So let's say, where's the favorite place you have been?
Burning Man.
Burning Man, let's go. And
desert.
That's in Nevada.
So it's called Black Rock City.
Wow.
Black Rock City.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't even know what number are we on, Michael?
4.
Okay, see, that's why we have you here. All right, so I'm doing number 5 right now, or am I doing?
You're doing number 4. You're doing number 4.
Oh, number 4. Okay, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay, sorry.
Same. If you could spend a day in someone else's shoes, who would it be?
Would it be?
Making them think. I got to come up with better ones. They should be quicker.
I thought ChatGPT came up with your questions.
They came up with a bunch of them. I'm starting to reuse a little bit. I'm gonna hone in. I want them to be quicker.
Someone else's shoes. Who are some of shoes?
Those ferocious Adidas that are coming out this week.
That got pushed back.
It got
pushed back. Did it?
There's
controversy.
There's controversy
Oh no!
Yeah.
I was away for a week. I didn't see all that.
Oh, you missed some stuff, Michael.
Really?
Yeah, you missed some stuff.
Some nice shoes. I don't know. No one goes to white right now.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Skip. Next question.
Let's go. I'll never ask that again. I'm mortified.
From the list.
Right. Yeah.
What is a book that changed your life? This is my last question.
Oh, it changed my life. Oh, it's a good book. Yeah. Maybe not changed my life, but a book I have a lot of affinity towards is, it's a very tall book, but The Alchemist.
Ooh, yeah, that's a classic.
It's actually really funny because I actually read that one after Burning Man, and yeah. So it was like, for me, it was like a turning point in my life at that point, and that book kind of just like was the catalyst for the next chapter.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Michael, your last question.
And finally, what is your favorite thing to cook?
My favorite thing to cook? Oh man. I like roast vegetables. I like sort of like fresh vegetables, put salt on it, olive oil, roasting it.
Yep.
Yes.
Right in the oven, nice and hot. I love it.
Yep.
Caramelized. Beautiful.
caramelized onions.
Yeah.
Some asparagus, maybe. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Richard, so much for joining us on the show. This was so amazing. I'm so happy that you're finally able to come on, and yeah, we really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Love it.
All right, Michael, you want to say anything?
Nah, I'm good. Thank you, Richard. Yep.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, thanks, guys.
With that said, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.